So, we appreciate y'all for tuning in and staying with us. For those that may have been disturbed or not by the recent segment we just did, but this is the Shorts on the Sports, and I really don't know how short of a sport it is because there's not much sports being played at this point. But we do have some topics to discuss within the college atmosphere, being college football, of course. And recently, there has been some talk about how is the college football season going to presume in the face of COVID-19. I know most people have already heard that the Big Ten has elected to postpone their season. I think they're a little wishy-washy on that, just to see how, I guess there's some teams that are about to play
soon.
They
don't want to lose their money maker,
right.
Justin Fields.
So I find that to be interesting. But in other news, there are other teams that are going to see what happens. So, Mr. West, what are your thoughts on college football resuming? Because they're not going to be able to get a bubble.
That's true.
So, how do you foresee this thing happening?
Well, I'm an advocate of wanting it to happen. I really do want it to happen, and I know you can compare it. You don't want to compare it to the NBA, the NFL, but I mean the NFL is doing a really good job of setting their example of keeping these players safe. Blah, say blah, whoop-de-whoop. They're doing a really good job at that. If you haven't watched it, tune into the Hard Knocks series because they actually give a good in-depth on how they're doing their COVID screening on these players. So you definitely can see how the NFL is making sure these players, they're not in the bubble and stuff like that. They're going to do their traveling, whatever, but they're going to do a really good job of doing with that. But I'm an advocate for letting these college football players especially Division I, D2, D3, it can get a little hard, a little dicey with those teams because they don't have the funds or the technology or the spacing to really make sure these athletes are truly okay and get the testing in. But if they're able to find a way, all means, yeah, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO, get those kids out there to play because, high school football, especially in Ohio, starts tonight.
Right.
And there actually was a couple of little middle school games yesterday, and they said everything went well. There were some middle school games last week here in Ohio, and all the kids are perfectly fine. It's a week. Usually they say it's 2 weeks to find the COVID thing, but kids, still might pop over there.
True.
These kids have been all around, all over the place. So but they said it ran really well. I saw a couple videos. They're not shaking hands after the game. They stand apart from each other and they're just taking their hats off to each other. So that's actually a good sign to see. Okay. Coaches on the sideline with masks and stuff like that. Maybe horrible to yell, but they're still keeping that. They making sure they have their mask on while they're doing it. I saw videos of that. So, if college football is able to find a true, legit, safe way to do this, granted, don't just go about it like it's a regular day, regular practice. No mask, just gonna do it like it is what it is. Try to find a way to keep your weight room separated as such. Especially at these big D1 schools. Usually most of them have 2 weight rooms for football, and then you just have your regular Olympic sports, which is basketball, track, whatever it may be. You got all that. So if they're able to do that, those big D1 schools or even like lower D1 schools, you got 1 or 2 weight rooms.
Yeah.
Keep it separate. Do a good guideline. Try to test as best as you can, or try to really monitor as best you can. And if you're able to do that, let these kids play. Let them play out. Or if anything, start a little bit later in the season. Start around late September. Late fall. If anything, just so we can see how it goes, see how practice is going. No positive cases jump up all over the place. Try to really, push to tell your kids, be smart about going out to party. They're college kids. They're going to go out and party. Yeah. It is what it is. But try to do your best to educate and learn. If you want to really play, and we'll be going out like that. Can't be going around and be out around a bunch of people because it's shown of being at parties that it does come in contact really quick. So if the colleges are able to do that and come up with a good guideline, a good plan, why not? And then on top of that, especially most of these schools, especially for football, these kids need it. These kids, the sport really is dependent on them. Like they depend on this sport 100% all in. So for you to just postpone them or send them home, that's hard for these kids to get motivated, because what motivates them is the sport.
Right.
And we don't know their living situation. You might be sending them back to a situation where their mom needed a little bit of their scholarship stipends that they get periodically throughout the month. Especially these big schools, they usually get about $2,300 a month to $2,000 a month. So they probably give their mom about $200-$300 just to help out. So you don't know these kids' living situation, to send them all back home and stuff like that. You don't know what environment you're putting them back in. So you got to really be mindful of that too as well. So if you're going to try it, be smart about it. Don't just try it willy-nilly and just say, it is what it is, because you don't want to have no case and some kid pass away on your hands. You don't want to have that. You don't need that on your hands. So be smart about it. Be smart about the best way and get those kids out there to play, but be wise. That's what I got to say on it.
I actually am very glad when we're talking about this, and I'm very actually glad that you had that position on it. To shed some light, the way that you just articulated that, yes, I would feel a lot more comfortable if that was the case. And for kids to come back and play. And listen, guys, the reason why we even have this podcast is because of sports, right? So I am all in for sports coming back, but I'm also a realist. And in that same breath, there's nothing in me right now that can legitimately say I'm comfortable with college sports coming back. Knowing that this thing is still out there, and when I say thing, I'm saying COVID-19. So the other part about this that I find very interesting is because I think people fail to realize the influence of the NBA right now. And if they don't fail to realize it, I don't think they understand how big that influence is that the NBA has. Because once again, the reason why sports were even shut down was because of what happened with Rudy Gobert and the NBA's stance on like, hey, one of our players got it, it's a wrap. We cutting it up. We're not even going to play with this thing anymore. We cutting it all the way off. And the same people that cut it all the way off were the same ones that were able to bring it back. Why? Because they were ahead of the game. They were not following the lead on certain things, right?
MLS.
So, the reason why I bring that up is because it feels like sports that are coming back now are trying to follow in the footsteps of the NBA, but don't have the bubble, and when I say the bubble, I'm talking about plan to strategically come back and make it safe.
Exactly.
So, I can't sit here and legitimately say that yes, I want college football to come back, knowing good and well they are not in the same position as the NBA to keep their players safe. I don't care how much testing you can do. Like you said before, the funding is much different.
Exactly. Yes.
Like maybe the NFL can potentially make this thing work, but we're talking about professional players. Like their whole lifestyle is around sports at this point. They're not commuting back and forth, from their dorm and back home and stuff like that. It's not happening. So you keeping a lock on these kids to try to get them to play just doesn't seem possible. It really just does not seem possible. And I'm very and I'm very disappointed because I was listening to a sports radio show today. I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't know how people may feel about this show or not. But there was a reporter that came on And I'll say this reporter was from Game Day. I'll literally say that much. This reporter was from Game Day, and he was very much opposed to the Big Ten's stance on postponing games well in advance before the season had ever started. And I was listening to him talk, and I was thinking he was going to have a legitimate reason why he was disappointed, but he followed up or at least ended his position saying, "Kudos to those that are at least going to give this thing a try." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, since when are we ever comfortable putting kids' lives on the line for the sake of trying to entertain people? Just doesn't seem that to me. It's asinine to think that. Like you literally are saying to the public, let's just try. Let's just try to have sports during this time. Let's see what happens. Well, like you said, what if it happens and kids die? Then what are you gonna say? So I'm under the sense that, hey, shout out to the Big Ten. If you made the wrong decision and you postponed and now you're trying to work your way back, at least you were ahead of the curve on this. But stopping it before it ever gets started. But don't sit here and try to bash people that are looking out for the best interests, because the Big Ten is one of the biggest money makers when it comes to football. So don't you think that they made that decision with some type of insight? I don't think you're telling me. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think billionaires are making off-the-cuff decisions when it comes to billion-dollar moves. Yeah. I'm just going to go out and come and say that.
True.
So, like I said before, I would love sports to come back. I would love college sports to come back, actually. College sports sometimes is much more appealing than professional sports. So I would love for it to come back. However, there's nowhere I can, like I said before, sit here and say that I want it to come back, understanding the severity of what may transpire if that does in fact happen. And I'm always going to err on the side of caution when it comes to somebody's life over entertainment. I'm going to just be as real as it gets. I can't do it. I get that the kids need it. I really do. But I think they would rather value their lives at this point rather than a potential scholarship, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of kids that are going to rely on that scholarship and they may not end up getting that chance to go professional. And that's the whole reason why they're there. So rather than trying to put them out there and sacrifice them, who also, by the way, these kids are not getting paid. So for the same people that are advocating, right, for the same people that are advocating that college sports need to come back, and I'm not saying just you, Wes, saying for those that are, you know who I'm getting at, that are advocating for college sports to come back, be those same advocates when they ask that they want to get paid. Because this is going to be straight voluntary. So if someone dies voluntarily, listen, get the lawsuit if you want it. So that's my spiel on it. I mean, like I said, we'll see, because there are some games that are going to be taking place soon. So we'll see.
SEC Big 12.
Right, exactly. So we'll see. We will definitely see. But this is something that is going to be TBD. So, in other news right now, before we end this vlog, since the NBA has not returned yet, it gives us the leeway. It gives us the opportunity to give you guys what we always want to give you guys, which is those hot predictions and bold takes that we always love to give. So Wes, before we get off, who are you still going to take in the NBA Finals, and obviously winning it all, and why do you feel so strongly about that team?
Well, like I said, I'm a Laker fan, so I gotta go with LA. You know, we may not be the best offensively, but defensively, that's where we at with it. That's where we're at.
That's
with
the
it.
identity.
We're top 3, so we're able to slow down these hot offensive teams that's happening in the bubble right now. So we're capable of that. We just slowed down Portland, and so that is what it is there. So now the Clippers. Now the thing about the Clippers is the Clippers can do it if they get PG going the right way he needs to be going.
Okay.
Now, if they run the offense through Paul George, like they did, and he put up 35, and Kawhi still gave him 30 as well.
True.
And everybody else did their role, we're gonna have an issue. And the Clippers gonna probably make it. But if they do what they was doing before and letting Kawhi run the offense, not really letting PG get in rhythm, we're gonna win.
Okay.
So there's that. Those are my 2 West teams. Mavs. Yeah, they look good, but Porzingis is down.
Yeah.
You know, Luka can only do so much.
Right.
Luka's amazing. Top 5 right now in the NBA. Right now, that's what he look like.
Wow.
Yeah, top 5 in the NBA right now. He looks like it.
I like it.
That boy's a dog. Nuggets. They good, but we don't know. We don't know. Jamal Murray's starting to becoming something I can't believe right now. He's becoming something I never would have thought. But Donovan Mitchell is too. But the Jazz is Thunder is sneaky. Thunder is sneaky, but I just don't see it. So there's 2 LA teams.
So okay,
East.
you're staying with the 2 LA teams. I like
East. The Raptors and Celtics are slowly turning me into big believers that they can do it. The Bucks, it's something about them to where Giannis or Middleton really just can't do it on their own. Middleton has his up and down days, blah, blah, blah. But when Middleton's on, he's on. He's still a good 2 player. He's a good number 2 for you. But after that, who else is going to give you 15 to 16 points? And who's going to be the next person to give you another 15, 16 points? True. But the Raptors are that. They have 2 players that could give you 20 plus in Siakam and Lowry.
Yeah.
But Fred VanVleet can also give you 20 plus. That's scary. So you got 3 people, and everybody on there is a good 2-way player. And that coach is showing exactly like, all right, I can coach without having a legit big time top 5 player.
Right.
You just give me 2 top 25, top 50 players in the NBA, and then a couple of good role players. I got you. And then the Celtics are the same way. Both good on defense. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can give you 25 plus. Scary. And then on top of that, the role players are doing their job.
Correct.
Everybody's doing it, and everybody plays great defense, and every good team has a great glue person. The Celtics have Marcus Smart.
Right.
The Raptors have Fred VanVleet. Those are my glue people. Like, if you got a good glue guy on your basketball team, you definitely can probably make it to the finals. Easy as that.
Yeah.
So, right out of those 2, I'm going to have to go with the Raptors for now, because the Raptors just, like I said, they look really good.
And
they look really good, and it's the same people from last year.
Right.
So they know what it takes to get there.
Yep.
Celtics are young. We gonna see, but the Celtics don't sleep on them. I was a Heat fanatic. I'm still on the Heat, but right now Raptors and Celtics look really good.
Okay.
So out of those 2, so I'll go Raptors out of those 2.
Okay. So you thinking it's gonna be a potential LA team and then one of those?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, man. I appreciate that because at least you're very much honest about how you feel about the Lakers. What I will say is, listen, I get it. You know, LeBron, year 17, he's going to do what he always is going to do. But right now, and I'm only going to say this because of the fact that it's the bubble. Right now, it's really just down to who has the most complete team coming into the bubble. It's not complete team overall because we know teams look different coming into the bubble. Mm-hmm. Who has the most complete team coming into the bubble? And I just don't see that from the Lakers. Now, I get it. They had a Portland team who very much underachieved in this series. We thought they would have a lot, and it was definitely over when Dame went out. So, you know, the Lakers were able to come out of this alive and come out of this with a good head of steam. Okay. But we will see how that looks because, on the other hand, like you said, the Clippers, they actually have a challenge with the Mavs. And at the end of the day, it's going to be who is going to be more well-versed come championship time.
This is true.
And like I said, the Clippers have just seemed to be more tested than the Lakers at this point, and they have a more complete roster. So I will take them. I will definitely think it'll be a LA, Western Conference Finals. I would love to see the Nuggets finally, get over this hump with the team that they have. But at the end of the day, I just
struggling with the Jazz.
Right. I can't see it happening. So that much I will definitely agree with you. But I told you how I felt when it comes to the East, and I'm not shying away from this. I would rather be wrong. I would rather be wrong on this hot take than to shy away from this. My Celtics. I'm saying this as I'm biased on this, but I'm also saying this because of the fact that I love what I'm seeing from them. I love what I'm seeing. I have to swallow my words on the Raptors because, like I said, I didn't think they was gonna be this good. And shout out to them for keeping it together. Yeah. So I'm very interested to see if this is a Celtics Raptors finals, how that would pan out.
That's a good one.
But at the end of the day, the Celtics, not only are they very young, they probably are the most disciplined team left in the bubble.
This is true.
And
better than the Raptors, though?
I personally think they are. Now, granted, you can see some of the undisciplined behavior that the Celtics show from time to time.
Easy.
But the thing that I like more about the Celtics is that they have the ability to cover up their undisciplined behavior because of the fact that their offense has the ability to put up 120 if they absolutely need to.
This is true.
And I really can't say that for the Raptors. I feel like if they show their true colors and get undisciplined from time to time, they may struggle getting back. Like, they're so disciplined right now that they are able to take control of these games before they get out of hand. But we've seen the Celtics get into games where it's crunch time and you start getting a little bit willy-nilly with your behavior because you're trying to scramble for points, and they pull these things out. And shout out to Jason Tater Tots. That's my boy. Because he is an up-and-coming star that is really going to take the top off the league once he really kind of unravels. But I like the way that they play the game in its totality. And I feel, like I said before, I said if it gets into a 7-game series with the Milwaukee Bucks, I personally will be taking the Celtics at this point because I trust their players much more than I trust the Bucks. So I am, like I said, I'm taking them right now, and I would like for it to be a LA Clippers Celtics matchup because those are probably the two most complete teams who can really lock down on defense. And like I said, they also have the potential to put up major firepower.
This is true.
But those are, like I said, those are my two teams that I'm taking away. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, the bubble has treated everybody different. LA Boston again. We'll see. Lakers, but it might be a different rivalry. Who knows? Dang. So thank you guys for tuning in to another vlog. Yeah. We appreciate y'all. Like we said, we are very eager to get season 2 out to you guys of the podcast. So this is our way of showing appreciation to you for at least tuning in to the podcast. We've seen
updated.
Right, y'all gave us 100 unsolicited plays. That's love.
Big love.
Shout out to y'all. 100 unsolicited plays. No new episodes, so we got to give y'all a vlog. We got to keep y'all engaged. So we will definitely be coming to you guys with another vlog soon. Hopefully our boy Lou is going to be with us, so keep him in y'all prayers. He's not in no bad condition, but you never know in the age of COVID, so keep him in your prayers. Make sure he gets well so he can get back and get this work on the show. You feel me? You feel me?
Get it in.
So for me, I'm your boy Steve Mose,
Mr. Wes.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Inside the Locker Room.
It's been real.
Peace.